Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today I'm joined by...
James the Wildcard.
Welcome back. How are you?
I'm alright. How you doing?
Alright, and don't lie to me. I know that you're feeling terrible. Horribly terrible,
Oh, yeah?
I might add.
Oh, yeah?
You're very sad because you missed the gaming epicness yesterday.
I did miss it.
It was horribly awesome. We were gonna give you a birthday present. We were gonna give you a present Ninja Wolf Hybrid Theory gave you. We were just gonna give you gifts, like shower you in gifts, and you were like, no, I don't want that noise.
Well, it's upsetting that I did miss it, but I think if I got showered with physical objects, it would hurt, so...
It wouldn't. They're soft shower objects made for showering.
Interesting. We'll have to patent this and sell it.
Yes.
Yes, so how did your Thanksgiving go?
It was short. I had to work that night.
Right.
So, yes, for all of you who live in the Americas, happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving. And for my Canadian listeners, our Canadian Fearless Gamers, I know it was like a month ago or so happy belated Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And, listen, I was out because family tradition is to eat early dinner and then we go to a movie on Thanksgiving. So, you know, it's upset. I used to work in a movie theater. I had to work on Thanksgiving. It's not that much fun, but the theater's pretty dead, so, you know, it's not like you're overwhelmed. But,
yeah.
In the same parking lot is a Best Buy and other things, and they had lines forming already on Thanksgiving Day for the whole Black Friday sale because they're actually opening their doors, or they opened their doors on Thursday. Yep. And if you lined up for that, you're part of the problem.
The only store that I know that didn't open Thursday was JCPenney's. Well, they didn't actually do a midnight release or anything, from my understanding. They opened regular store hours on Friday.
They deserve a medal, because that's the way it should be.
This year may incite Target to do this again next year, because we finally, after, at least for me, 6 years running, we finally beat our goal for the year, for the day, which is to make $1 million in sales, and we did.
Gotcha.
And we didn't have any Xbox Ones or PS4s, so that was just on regular stuff, people. The first time in 6 years, we made $1 million, and it took us to open on Thursday, too.
Well, good for them. And I just have to say, people, I understand there's some killer deals. There's also some killer deals on Cyber Monday and Cyber Weekend and all that, so you can get, like, online deals that are awesome on, like, Amazon and some other places. So that's why, if I'm trying to get a deal, I do that. But, I know
there's no problem in going on Friday. The problem is going in at midnight on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, I mean, there's no problem doing that. I mean, for me, I just don't like the crowds. It's too many people. And there's too many people, and people are like, want to get the deal and get the items, so they're always on edge and annoyed. When you're just a fellow customer. But it's just proof, and I know there's other sale days throughout the year, but that mega of a sale is just proof that, because they're still making a profit, people, that you're getting ripped off horribly every other day of the year.
Yep.
And that's why another reason I'm like, you know what? That's kind of funny to me. But if anybody got some killer deals, let us know, because I'm curious to see who got the best deal on what.
Yeah.
I know I got 0 deals because I didn't buy anything.
I didn't buy anything either, so I did not partake in these deals.
Yes.
Speaking of, I think that a couple of GW players are going to be fairly upset with the latest GW news.
Why is that?
Well, I don't know if you heard, but 2 new books are on pre-order now, Escalation and Stronghold Assault. And Escalation is the bringing a super heavy to 40k games. So this rulebook gives you enough rules for every army to have what's called a Lord of War, which is basically an apocalypse model.
Uh-huh.
And everyone was like, oh, OMG, this means we're going to get a Plastic Thunderhawk. Oh, it's awesome, and I'm going to have something to say about that in a moment. But in the description of said book, it says it includes datasheets for every plastic super heavy Citadel miniature, plus a selection of super heavy vehicles and gargantuan creatures from Forge World, which kind of implies that they're not going to do the Thunderhawk.
Yeah, and I mean, let's be honest. This is like Cities of Death. This is like an expansion book to do something. They're not going to mass drop models for it, or even a model necessarily.
Yep. And also going off of that, everyone's been asking for the Plastic Thunderhawk, and I'm starting to think I know why they want the Plastic Thunderhawk, because they're convinced it's going to drop dramatically down to $150 to $200. And that's not going to happen.
Right. I mean,
like, it can happen, but if it does, we're going to get the same level of detail as a Baneblade or a Stompa. We're not going to get the Forge World quality, like interior compartments and moving parts that their version has if you want it for $200. Like, if we get a Plastic Thunderhawk, it's going to be like $300, maybe $350. It's not going to be this cheap deal everyone thinks it's going to turn into.
No, and even if it will probably drop in price if it were plastic.
Oh, it will.
But you're not going to get, like you said, the super interior detail. You're going to get the doors opening. You're going to be able to make the sponson guns to turn. But it's going to be like the doors opening to a Rhino or a Land Raider. Really, yeah, there's interior detail just so you can go, hey, there's an interior in there. But that's about it.
You're not... The most detail we're probably going to get is the two pilots in the cockpit, because that's right there on the front.
Yeah.
But, like, I think also maybe the other half of it is just weight, because the Forge World one does weigh a lot. But I think a lot of it is well, the Baneblade came out, it's now $100. So if the Thunderhawk comes out, it'll be $100. And no, that's not going to happen.
No, but I will agree with the weight thing, because
it does weigh a lot. I've actually picked one up once.
Part of the problems of flyers from Forge World being that is that they sit on a flying base, and it can be real annoying to get them to sit appropriately on said base without doing like major surgery, like sink the stand inside of it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And most of these things, like the Thunderhawk, uses like a 3 or 4 inch wide dowel to keep this thing standing on a flight stand.
Exactly.
Then the other thing is Stronghold Assaults. I believe this one gives you new buildings and new combinations of fortifications to kind of make it a little bit less broken up into pieces, and actually gets you the ability to get strongholds in your army instead of just like a tiny piece of a fortification.
That'd be cool for like storming a stronghold.
Yeah. I think that's its whole big thing is I think its big design is you build a giant stronghold for one army and the other army has to siege it.
That can be fun.
Yep. And over in the Forge World area, we've got Imperial Armor Volume 2, War Machines of the Adeptus Astartes coming out.
Yeah, the second edition
new
or so.
Stuff. Yep, the second edition with some of the stuff from the Horus Heresy and some revamps of other stuff.
That will be cool.
Yep. That would be interesting.
Yeah, because second edition stuff. Some people are like, whatever. I know what the updated rules are. I'll just do it from that. But when you have a second edition like that that's incorporating some new material, it's refreshing. It's almost like a new book.
Yeah. The only thing I get a little peeved about is when they bake. The only thing I don't like about Imperial Armor sometimes is they make one book. Then the very next book makes the last book irrelevant sometimes. And then I'm just like, oh, can't you just FAQ my book and be done with it?
I guess. But, that'll be fun. So yeah, that's I like the way they put their books together. I do. It just feels nice. It's like, this is awesome.
And they're weighted just right, so if you get into an argument, you have a weapon.
That is true.
A rules argument, got a blunt object right there.
You can literally smack them with knowledge.
Yeah. And an interesting thing is also coming out. It looks like the Black Library is doing like this Advent Calendar thing for all of December. And they've got 2 things up right now. First, this short story of Bjorn, the lone wolf. Apparently he's the lone wolf now who doesn't want to be in a dreadnought.
Yeah, well, I mean, he'll get there.
He'll stop not being a lone wolf, and he will eventually be in a dreadnought. Spoilers, if anyone hasn't read the Space Wolves Codex or looked for the Bjorn model before.
Yeah, spoiler alert there, I guess. But it's just, a lone wolf is a unit in the Space Wolf Codex, and it's kind of, I'll be interested to see how he gets that way.
And also another one is a data sheet for Baelork, the Dark Master. He's the first Demon Prince. He's a Demon Prince, and he was the first of them. And he's got rules to be used in 40k and Warhammer. And on the 40k side, I've been told, don't have it yet because I don't think it's available on iTunes yet. Says that he can be used in both demons and chaos. And it kind of makes sense because in his description it talks about how he's in the shadow of Abaddon, the Despoiler, as he embarks upon his 13th Black Crusade.
So is he just a demon prince? Like he's not tied to any one god?
Known as the first demon prince, Baelork has stalked the worlds of the Imperium since the beginning of mortal memory. Favored of the 4 chaos gods, okay. He has ever been in the midst of their plots and plans. His own manipulations and schemes reach far across the stars and blown and down through the millennia. Okay, so he's basically the Abaddon of the demon world.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
It's interesting throwing in new characters. I wonder how many people will start using him, depending on his rules, because maybe he gives the Chaos Codex a sort of warp storm chart.
It'll be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah. It's only $3.99. I might pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting way to introduce special characters without having to make a codex.
Yes, it is. Like, simple data sheets, you do have to pay $3.99 for it, but you do get a little bit of art. You get, a story background behind him and some artwork. Now, I'm wondering, will Forge make a model for him? Or will you... According to the picture on this thing, is a model exists for him already from GW, but I can't find it. But unless it was an older model, but here, I'll send you a link to him. And it's possible it is an older model. Because I remember seeing this model before. I don't know if it was officially him or if it was just a Demon Prince model and they decided it is him. Oh, that model. Yeah. That model, that's not an old model. That should be around. I'm trying to find it. He doesn't show up as a HQ choice in the Demons or Chaos. Maybe he's a special unit. The plot thickens here. But he's definitely... I remember when he came out. Let's see. I don't have... Here he is. Yep, he's a regular Demon Prince. Yep. He is Warriors of Chaos Baelork Demon Prince. Yep. He's in the Warriors of Chaos section. Yep, so that's... And he's fine cast now, and he's 3725. He's being all fine cast and whatnot. He's all fine, like... Whoa now. But, no, it's a cool concept for that, doing a special character. Yes, it's interesting. It seems like a little bit less of a rip-off than some of the supplements, where it's 20 pages of fluff, a page of rules. $50, please. Yeah. I mean, time will tell, but it does seem pretty good that way. And, yeah, so I'm curious to see if I guess this would be a test, and depending how it does or whatnot, maybe we'll see more stuff for different things. I don't know. Like I said, all I know is it's some special December Advent Calendar thing that they're doing. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Played a new game yesterday. Oh yeah. Forbidden Desert. Wow. It's pretty cool. It's forbidden. You have a chance of... It's basically your ship crashes, and your helicopter crashes, sorry, and you have to go and build a flying machine, and you have to excavate this desert. But there's a desert sandstorm that's moving around and causing bad stuff to happen, and you're running low on water. So you have to find all the pieces of the machine, build it, and get out of there before either A, one of you or all of you runs out of water and dies, because if one of you dies, you lose. B, you run out of sand tokens, which means you've been buried alive in sand. Or C, the storm hits critical mass and no one can survive it.
I've heard of this before. It's like Lost in the desert.
Yes, there was a secondary game that came out before it called, we believe, Forbidden Island, where the island is sinking and you're trying to get off of it.
Gotcha. That's cool. It was fun.
It was fun. We died a lot.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first. Die a lot.
Yeah. Yep. We blame the Stark Lord because he tapped a water well before we should have, and the last water well we went to wasn't there.
Oh well, sometimes you win them, sometimes you lose a lot.
And then we played Clue.
Gotcha.
And then we played Rage, which is a lot of fun. The combat system is very interesting. Unlike Magic, where you do your combat and then everything's over, it's, you do your combat and then you continue combat until you either run away or you get killed. And then the next person goes. So it's pretty interesting. Like, it was intense. The action was high octane.
Gotcha. High octane.
And then we played some Star Wars. Darth Vader won.
Well, he's Darth Vader.
Yeah, he gets 2 actions a turn, so he just starts schooling everybody. Eventually it became Darth Vader, and Darth Vader was like, okay, no more of this stuff, and then he blew up the B-Wing that was there, and the B-Wing went, oh no, and crashed into a hillside, and everybody died.
That'll do it. Now, speaking of Star Wars, I got not a question. I got a thought I want to put out there and see what the fearless gamers think, and obviously what you think. Episode 4, right?
Yep.
You got Luke going, wah, I want to fly things, wah, but on Tatooine to his uncle, Uncle Owen. Now, I'm wondering. Now, obviously, Episode 3, we see that Luke goes there as an infant. Spoiler. In case nobody saw Episode 3, he gets brought there by Obi-Wan as a baby. A little baby boy. Now, why would Owen raise him to be like, I'm not your daddy, I'm your uncle? It's not like he got orphaned when he was 5 and knew his dad. It's like, I'm Uncle Owen, but I'm raising this child as my own, so therefore I am the father for all he cares.
I think it could go under the understanding that if he was just honest with him up front, then there'd be less chance of him wanting to go out and explore and try and find his daddy and his mommy. If he just said, your parents are dead, you're now with us, I'm your uncle, then he's like, oh, they're dead, well, I better just live this life because this is all I got.
Well, what if he just said, I'm your dad?
Then when he discovered he wasn't his dad, he'd want to go out and run away from home and try and discover where his parents are.
How would he discover that he wasn't the dad? They're on Tatooine. They don't have the internet.
Well, they kind of do.
I mean, I get. I mean, it works with the movie, obviously, and you have old Ben, who's just a crazy old kook in the desert. But
I think it's supposed to just go off the idea that not every person in that situation would pose as their father.
Yeah, but it's just like, I'm just looking at it like, that's kind of, when you think about it, I don't know, I don't want to say it's a messed up childhood being raised, but, like when they're a baby and learn to speak, it's like, say mama, say dad, it's like, say Uncle Owen. It's like, what?
It's the future.
It's a little weird.
It's the future.
But, it didn't work anyway, because he still wanted to get off that rock.
He still wanted to get off that rock, but But he wasn't trying to get off there to discover where his parents were, because he's like, well, he was honest about the fact that he was my uncle, that I can assume that what he tells me is true.
Yeah. I mean, I think...
there's none of that, well,
he lied to me about being my daddy. How can I trust anything he says?
Well, yeah.
Because you start sounding like that when you discover that your parents are not your parents.
Right, of course. Now, I Owen does have the disadvantage of that he was raising a kid on Tatooine, and what kid wouldn't want to live Tatooine? I mean...
Apparently not him.
Yeah, but,
He loves the moisture vapors.
Yeah, the moisture evaporator thingies.
Yes, the water evaporators.
Yeah, those things. But it's just... And, I don't know, it's just weird. And if any of the Fearless Gamers haven't seen Troops, you should, after this podcast, just type in YouTube Star Wars Troops just to make sure you get Star Wars Troops. It's basically like Cops, but with
Stormtroopers, and it kind of tells their side of the story of what happened on Tatooine.
Yeah, it's just really funny, and it does a really good job, and it's really old. It's from 1997, I believe. But they did a good job, so it's definitely worth. Was it 1997? I forget. It's really old.
Yeah, it's like I was in like high schoolish when I saw that, because the internet didn't come out till like the late 90s.
Yeah.
For us, at least.
But yeah, it's just worth watching. It's like 10 minutes, nothing.
Yeah, it's not even.
Yeah.
And it's very good production quality,
it is.
Surprisingly.
It really is.
Like, it's not one of those usual fan-mades where it's like, oh, it's some kid in a collector's edition helmet going, my living room is really a space station.
Yeah, no, it was 1997. It's good that, I imagine, I don't know, I imagine they got people from the 501st to be the Sand Troopers, but...
Either that, or they were people who would eventually turn into the 501st.
Exactly. But it was... Troops, I don't want to say... because I don't know enough of this, but for anybody that doesn't know, Imps the Relentless is something that's been around for ages, but only 2 chapters of 8 are out because they've been severely behind and under budget and everything. But they have a teaser, a chapter 1, and a chapter 2. And Imps the Relentless is Imperial military personnel stories, hence Imps aboard the Relentless. Then it goes over the different, like the first one's just Stormtroopers, the second chapter was Snowtroopers, and it kind of gives you like a documentary type style of being one of the people in the Imperial military. And I don't know if it's the same people who did Troops. I don't know if Troops spawned that. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if Troops had something to do with it.
I think that was the case. I think they did do Imps later, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, and still waiting for chapter 3. I'm waiting for I'm waiting for them to finish Imps. Unfortunately, they got way behind with stuff because it's not their job. It's like the thing they do on the side. But and it's a big project, and but money cuts and like not having the budget necessarily. But the cool thing is, I'm 99.999% sure the narrator is Peter Cullen.
Nice.
Yeah, so you can't go wrong with Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
So.
Robots in disguise.
He's got a good narration voice.
Which I have discovered that I found out what Meg is short for in Family Guy.
What?
Megatron.
Really?
In a recent episode in the recent season, Meg is sitting there and she's got her friends. They're like, "Hey, Megan," and Meg's like, "Why'd you call me that?" It's like, "That's your name, right? That's what Meg's short for." She goes, "No, it's short for something else." And you see Lois in the bed with Meg, and she goes, "Oh, Peter, could you hand this in?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And it's the birth certificate, and it says Megan on it. But then Peter puts it on the wall, and with a Sharpie corrects it to spell out Megatron, and then goes, "Hey, robots in disguise."
That's pretty funny.
So her name is Megatron Griffin.
Not bad. As far as weird names go, it's not the worst out there.
What, sorry?
As far as weird names go, that's not the worst out there.
Ladasha.
Yeah, that's worse.
For those who don't know, there's this person whose name is spelled like, it's Lisa, but in the middle of her name is a dash, and her mother insists that her name is Ladasha because the dash no silent.
Yep. So be thankful if your name is Terrence or Clarence. Be thankful it's Terrence or Clarence.
Yeah, not Ladasha.
Yeah.
Or Claire Dashin.
Yeah, or
Because
Lamangelo.
then it kind of sounds like Kardashian.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. It's just weird how your name can be spelled any which way, and your parents can dictate that says something other. Your name could be spelled Xtgin, and your parents will proclaim you Jason, but that's how you spell your name.
Which is weird.
But that's how it works.
Essentially. I mean, I don't know if it's that extreme, but essentially.
You could, like, if you think about Elena, our camera girl, there's, 6 different ways to spell her name.
Yeah, but at least they all look kind of like Elena. There's no, ZQRLNA, and that spells Elena. It's...
The weirdest one is what? ALINA.
Yeah, that should not be that, but...
Or ALYI. ALAINA. There's some weird ways to spell Elena.
Yeah. I'm glad my name is pretty straightforward spelling.
Yes, BCDMGH, James.
Exactly. I'm glad you know.
The American way. The Bible way.
Yes. All over that.
Yes.
But yeah,
I don't know what we just did there.
I don't either. But if you're still listening, you are a better person than I would be. Because I would have stopped by now.
So, I got an awesome game recently. It's called The Wonderful 101. And it's got a whole bunch of Japanese Monster Sentai references in it. And one of the most glorious ones is there's a moment where you're fighting this dude, and he's riding on top of a mechanized King Ghidorah. And you're fighting. At the very end, you take his big giant sword and you cut him in half. And he's falling, and he slowly splits in half into 2 pieces. But then he takes his 2 hands and he presses his face back together so he can say his final curse to you before he lets himself split into 2 pieces.
That's kind of funny.
And I'm just like, this man pushed himself back together so he could talk to you one last time. That is awesome.
That's dedication right there.
That's hate. That's pure rage.
It is. It's pretty much just nothing but hatred.
Yep. And it's a really fun game. We tried to beat the challenge modes, and we got pretty far. I think... Did we beat them all? No, I think we lost in one of them, and we're done. But we got pretty far. We're still having trouble with one of the Unite Morphs, because I haven't gotten that far, so I don't know the official drawing for it, which is a pain because you need it for a specific enemy, and he shows up a lot in the harder levels.
Gotcha. Yeah. Sounds like it could be a pain.
Yep, but it's a fun game.
That's good.
Oh, excuse me. Yep.
It's a good one.
And so War Machine deals are now happening for the holidays, so anyone who's out there who wants to get a full, ready-to-go, out-of-the-box army, you should head over to the Privateer Press website and check out some of their great deals. They have a bunch dedicated to each faction, and it's pretty cool. And War Machine's a really fun game. It's quick, it's intense, and it's full of steampunk robots. How can you say no to steampunk robots?
It is tough.
Or clockwork steampunk soul-driven robots. Or just soul-driven robots.
We're adding a lot of different characters to this.
Yep. Because there's different factions.
There are.
And then there's the hordes. This deal's also on the hordes, so you can fight with your trolls and your dragons and your werewolves and your rat people. I think there's rat people in there. If not, they kind of look like hippopotamus elephant things.
Hippopotamus elephant things, you say?
Yes. They've got like the tusks of elephants, but they've kind of got like a hippo-ish frog face. It's really hard to describe.
Sounds a bit weird.
It is a little weird. But in a good way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. And we're getting into the crazy holiday seasons.
We are.
I believe Tyrids are next on the list of things to come out from GW. Along with The Hobbit.
The Hobbit?
Yes. Which, are you excited for the Desolation of Smaug?
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be good. I'm gonna scream every time Legolas is on screen.
I won't mind it. It makes sense.
No, it doesn't. He's not in the book.
It doesn't have to be in the book. I mean...
He does. He's literally just throwing him in there to go, hey guys, in case you haven't realized it yet because of Gandalf, this is in the Lord of the Rings universe.
I mean, I can accept it on the sheer fact that they're kind of
Also, Orlando Bloom is like, I'm out of the Pirates movie. Can I have money?
Well, yeah. Well, if he doesn't have money, then he doesn't know how to save and invest or whatever. But, you know, I don't really have a problem with it. Like, it's just a way to throw things in. Like, it's because it's not 100% like the book at all. Like, I don't have a problem with it.
It bothers me because they should just not throw him in there, because why don't they just use the Wood Elf King and his dudes and, you know, the people that are actually in the book and not just recycle Lord of the Rings characters?
It might just be easier to do it this way.
No. 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 No.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It'll be fine. I just hope...
I'm just glad that I don't have to watch the third one.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
I'm not. I mean, 'cause out of principle, the third one shouldn't happen.
Oh, it all depends.
Because from what I've seen in the trailers, the book ends in the second film, so I'm not going to watch the movie The Hobbit when it has nothing to do with the book The Hobbit.
You don't know that. You don't know you have to wait to see how the second movie ends.
From everything that I've been reading up on, the third movie is a bunch of side stories and omitted chapters that connect Lord of the Rings to The Hobbit a little better.
Wait, there's a whole bunch of literature in Middle-earth that isn't in the Lord of the Rings book, or even that was either cut out of The Hobbit or not in The Hobbit, but is in other sections that tie things together. Like,
yep,
there's a whole
and that's
bunch.
what the movie 3 is supposed to be.
Which would be cool, because those other things deserve something. You know, I mean, there's a lot of other stuff aside from the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I just hope, the only thing I'm really hoping for is that I like the way the trailers have not really gave you just like full on Smaug action, you know?
Yes.
But I'm hoping it's not because there is no full on Smaug. I'm hoping there's some full on Smaug action in the movie.
Just wait. It's gonna be the only part of the book that Peter Jackson does exactly as it's written.
Nah.
He's in it for like 3 minutes, he disappears, and then he dies.
You know, I'm just hoping that what we see in the trailers isn't like all we're going to see is Smaug. It's because yeah, I know it's different in the book, but this has been built up as the big bad.
Yep. Well, for everyone who isn't aware, Smaug's role in the book isn't that big, and I'm just going to find it hilarious if it's the only part of the book that Peter Jackson sticks to the letter. I'm hoping it's not, because Smaug is my favorite part of the book, but I would not be surprised just for irony's sake, because it's the one part that I want to see him drag out. It's going to be the one part he doesn't.
And to be honest, Smaug should have been a bigger part of the book, in my opinion. He's kind of a big deal when it comes to what they're doing.
He is the driving force behind what they're doing.
For what he is, Smaug,
yeah.
I kind of understand in terms of writing The Hobbit. I mean, it has been a bit since I've read it, but I kind of understand why it wasn't such a big part of the book, because it's more about, like, it's not about the dragon being the main, like, bad guy. It's about the group. But
yeah, it's the journey of the group, and I think it kind of sometimes feels like, if you really think about it, feels like the actual big event of the book was what he wanted all along, but he couldn't think of a way to write it in without having another event happen first, and he needed that event to happen, so Smog ended up being the focus until he did his role.
Yeah, but it's just like, for a movie like this, I mean, Smog is such an ever-present, like, he's kind of the whole reason that this is happening.
Yep, he is the reason this is happening.
So, yeah, it's, I hope we get some decent screen time of that.
The chances are we're not. Instead, we're going to get a long, dragged-out scene of the bowmen staring at people dying left and right as flames are spewing everywhere for like 20 minutes, and then it's going to be done.
Nah,
because
I'm not going to be one of those people who just bash on the guy who can't make a movie when he has an actual budget. But
I'm sorry, but I've seen too many of his films where I'm just like, this scene has no purpose. You just wanted to drag it out. Like the bugs in King Kong.
Well, let's just forget King Kong ever happened. Okay?
You're funny.
I mean, because that really is the
I think
problem.
Sometimes those scenes that feel really dragged in his movies, I think they're dragged so he can purposely go over budget, so people will go, wow, this film went over budget, it must be amazing.
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
Because if you notice, everyone always makes that note. You know he went over budget. You know that this film actually was so awesome it went over budget. Like, that always ends up being a point when they're talking about his films, is how he went over budget.
Yeah, I don't think he does it so. I think it was over budget because he doesn't know how to budget.
That is true.
I mean,
he's too busy writing his Star Wars fanfic.
Yeah, but
that he thinks is going to turn into a movie.
At least, you know, when he goes over budget, there's not lens flares everywhere.
Okay, yes, he does do the lens flares over the top, but in J.J. Abrams' defense, he has said, yeah, I've gone back and looked on a lot of my movies and went, what the heck was I thinking? So he at least admits after the fact that he makes dumb decisions.
But he keeps doing it.
He keeps doing it, yes. Yes, he does. But at least he will admit that it was a mistake. He won't try to go, no, you don't understand. I'm trying to capture the drama between these people, and I can only do that with a lens flare. No, he's like, yeah, I don't know why I thought that looked good.
See, yeah, but that's like giving a drug addict cocaine and thinking he'll be okay. He won't actually use it again. No, you can't keep doing this. He's got a problem. He needs intervention. He needs a lens flare AA.
Someone's need to make the Lens Flare Users Anonymous.
Basically. I mean...
So that would be the LFA.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, LFUA.
Now, truth be told, it honestly doesn't really bother me in, like, this, for example, the Star Trek film. It doesn't really bother me, but it's definitely there. Like, it's not like something you go...
Super 8.
Yeah, it's definitely something... It's not something in which you're going to go, oh, I didn't notice. It's gonna be there. Whether it bothers you or not is a different story. But you're gonna be able to go, yep, I know what you're talking about. But
yep. You need to admit that it's there.
Yeah.
That it's there.
Like, it's not one of the things that people, like, with certain people who are fanboys won't admit to it being there. It's like, no, there's no evidence of that at all. No, there's plenty of evidence to that.
It's not like, but, you know, it's not like we're gonna see, like, you know, the worst that we'll see in Star Wars is probably, like, a lens flare off of C-3PO's head or something.
I know, when a lightsaber comes on, it's just gonna be lens flare.
That's all it is, not a blade, just a giant lens flare.
I just can't wait for something more substantial to come out for the new Star Wars films. Like an official poster or something.
I'm curious to see what happens. Because I like all of the Star Wars movies, even the ones that are bad, but I am still curious to see what's gonna happen, to see what happens. But at the same part, I can agree that it may be time to just let this run its course.
I don't know. I mean, I'm always up for more Star Wars stuff. There's something about the Star Wars films.
The universe is great.
Yeah, and, I mean... If at any point you took episodes 1 through 6 and put it back on the big screen, I'm gonna go watch it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
So-
I mean, I went and saw episode 1 in 3D a couple of years ago.
yeah, I know. I was with you. It was good.
Yes, it was good because it's Star Wars on the big screen.
Right, and that's
Even with all of the special edition stuff. And I have to say, I was kind of offended that there was no special edition redone of episode 1 when we got it out. Because I'm like, George, you mean to tell me these were perfect and the others aren't? I'm offended. When I go to your film, I expect an alteration. I expect something. Maybe change Jar Jar's skin tone a bit. Maybe change a voice. Maybe change the voice of one character. Maybe throw in an extra explosion or change a laser gun to a revolver gun. Something. Just one thing.
like,
And you didn't deliver.
yeah, well,
I was offended.
maybe they didn't have the budget for it. His budget,
Or maybe he counts the 3D as the special edition part.
well, kind of was in the movie. I mean,
Kinda.
But I recently just watched episodes 1, 2, and 3, and really, I mean, when you just watch them, they're
not bad.
They're really not. I mean, I know people will be like, "Brr, brr, brr, this is what are you saying?" But like, I look at it this way, and this is the way I've always described it. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 came out. I don't remember the exact years, but they came out where, and when you compare them to films of their time, they are done in a manner that will be acceptable and what you would do in terms of creating certain things for the films, in terms of effects and whatnot, that you do in that time. They're still Star Wars, and they still stand out because of that difference in story and everything, but they still do that. Now, when you look at 4, 5, and 6, again, what made them stand out is the story and everything, but they were shot the way you would shoot movies back then, which is not with CGI everywhere.
Yep.
And I will say, well, you know, I think episode 1 did a very good job of in terms of not so much, I'm not talking about story and or acting and things of that nature, the way the films were done, because there were actual B-1 battle droid props. You know, Viceroy was actually a suit, you know?
Yep, it was a puppet.
Like, and you had Yoda as a puppet, although I will say that while Yoda as a puppet's awesome, the CGI Yoda, I like his eyes a lot better. They look more realistic. Because the puppet Yoda's eyes, and looked at him going, yeah, I can definitely tell he's unrealized. At least the CGI, I mean, yeah, I can tell he's not a real thing.
The other thing people also have to remember is that what was big with Star Wars was the special effects marvels that he was able to create. And that's what these films, again, are using. That's why there's so much CGI in there, because it's taking the CG special effect, the effects of the age, and trying to push them to their limits.
Yeah, I think 1 had the best balance of CGI and actual physical props and physical location. I think 3 went a little bit too over the top.
3 went over the top because every actor's like, all I remember is green screen everywhere.
Yeah.
Even if there was a physical set, George found a way to put a green screen in it.
But like, I think 1 did the best job in terms of that. But I think, like, for example, the Darth Maul final battle.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites, but you can definitely tell when you compare it to Obi-Wan versus Anakin in 3 that what they were trying to do wasn't perfected yet. You know, they got a lot more speed and awesomeness in their dueling with the sabers and whatnot. But when you look at, I know it's cut horribly in the movies, but when you actually look at the fight of Obi-Wan and Anakin, the speed and the severity at which they go is much higher. Partly because they're trying to, you know, show it's an epic battle of epicness, sure, but you know, then it wasn't, and there was more of it than in Episode 1.
Yeah. What's one of the coolest tricks from Episode 1 that I always thought was really ridiculously awesome was how they made Darth Maul kick Obi-Wan. Because if you watch the actual footage, Obi-Wan's about 2 feet away from Darth Maul when Darth Maul kicks him.
Yeah.
And what they did was they basically messed with the tracking to make it a split image on just Darth Maul and Qui-Gon. so they could shift Qui-Gon and Darth Maul over, so when Darth Maul kicked him, his foot was actually touching Obi-Wan. And then they erased the original track and solidified the new track, so they literally were able to just shift them over without actually messing up the footage.
That's cool. Now, speaking of, Darth Maul, as we just were, I was talking with the Stark Lord about this the other day. Alright, doors open, it's the big bad. And you got Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and like a small battalion of security forces, all armored blasters.
Yep.
And he's just standing there for the effect and whatnot. But then Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's like, we'll handle this. I was thinking, and I'm always thinking, you got like 17 dudes with blasters. He can't block every shot if they just all shoot at him.
Yep. But then he wouldn't have his lightsaber battle that he needed, because that's what the first film had.
Oh, I know, but it's just thinking. I'm surprised, the captain would go, no, wait a minute, everybody fire.
We'll handle this. No!
Yeah, right. It's just like...
that's how you solve a problem.
Overwhelming firepower is how you solve it.
It works in Episode 3.
It does. It does
with,
work.
Execute Order 66.
They shot a lot of things.
Which, fun fact, Execute Order 66 actually meant give them their Medal of Honor. It was Order 65 that meant shoot them on sight. The Clone Troopers got their things messed up because they're clones.
Yeah, it happens.
There's a little thing that happens there, so they got confused.
Yeah, but it's just like, I'm also I want to know what happened to the droid tanks. Episode 1, was that like their entire stock of tanks? Because they never showed up in any of the other movies.
I think they appear in Episode 2.
I don't remember seeing them. I remember seeing the weird rolling things with the missiles and other stuff, but I don't remember seeing any of those, like those droid tanks. You have plenty of spider droids.
Yeah, I believe there was 1 or 2 in the background, but I think the thing was I think it was more of the Techno Army comboed their stuff with the Federation, and they took what was best from the Trade Federation and what was best from the Techno Force and combined the two. So the battle droids were the Trade's best thing, so they just mass-produced them, and the Techno Army built all the tanks.
I guess. I don't know. I felt those tanks were pretty top-notch.
They're pretty nasty.
It's like, and they're gone. Awesome. All right, next.
But I think it's good. But the Techno Armies were better because they were actual droids and not tanks piloted by droids.
Yes, but then you have the thing, like, if the tank gets KO'd, then the droids can get out and still shoot.
Sometimes, yes, I guess.
I will say...
I don't know. Jar Jar did take down that one tank and no dudes came out.
Well, he didn't take that tank down. He took down, like, the gunner.
And the tank crashed.
Well, no, the tank, what happened was that he's on it, he did it, the tank turret turned, making its weight shift so it gouged a thing in the dirt, but he kept going because he jumped off of it, and the tank drove away. So all he did was kill one dude in the whole entire tank. He did kill a tank when I don't know I know it's a boomer, but I have no idea what it's meant to even be.
It's supposed to be, I think, a ball of ionized energy, and it's supposed to function like an ion cannon.
I mean, when he did open that case that had all...
Or no, it's an electrical discharge, I think, and just fries them.
When he did open the big one, he did take out a tank straight up, because he opened up the case with all the big boomers in it.
Yep.
And I was thinking, if you're retreating, why did you do that anyway? I know it was a mistake, but I would have been like, okay, we're running away, open those things up.
Drop them.
Yeah, let them roll.
That's because he was Bombard General. He didn't give the order.
Yeah, whatever that means. And
it means he's the general.
And I was also talking about this with the Stark Lord. Speaking of Boss Nass, because he decreed him the general.
Hawkman! Die!
Yeah, like Boss Nass.
Yes, for those who don't know, he was the Prince of the Hawkmen in Flash Gordon.
He when Qui-Gon, we're getting nerdy, of course, but when Qui-Gon is like force persuading him.
Yep.
I don't want to say he's immune, but I think he knew what was going on, because when you see every force persuasion that works, they don't say exactly the same thing, but they don't change things drastically. Mm-hmm. And like Boss Nass is like send us on our way. He's like, we's gonna speed you away, and then he says, we're gonna give you like whatever, the Unabongo, whatever. And then he says the quickest way is through the planet core, which makes no sense. We're not gonna go there, but. he's like smirking as like, I just sent you somewhere really dangerous.
The whole him not saying exactly how Qui-Gon says it, I think that's more based on just his vocabulary and how his sentence structure.
To a degree, but definitely when he says, you know, the quickest
but when he
way.
says the planet core, clearly, clearly after the Force persuasion is done onto him, he goes, I think like you said, he's like, well, I already promised this. How can I make this promise backfire?
Yeah, like, I'm not saying he's immune, but I definitely think he knew what was going on. It's like, okay, we're going to play this game. Guess what? You're going through the planet core of this planet.
I can agree that I think he was, that after it happened, he was aware that he was just duped, and he just double-crossed the double-crosser.
Which I just think that's kind of interesting, if that's the case. Because, you know, normally it's just like, huh, what happened? And he's like, oh, yeah. I know what happened. Guess what? You're going to go where... Honey, you didn't go to where...
I just realized those were the droids I was looking for. But the old man told me they weren't, and I let them go. How am I going to go to work tomorrow and face everybody?
Exactly. But, then you send them through the planet core, which has gigantic fish after gigantic fish after gigantic fish thing.
Mm-hmm. But apparently... apparently that implies that the Gungan city is on the exact opposite end of Naboo's palace.
I guess, but the Nubians, they do seem pretty like ignorant of that world.
It's not that it seems to be like one of those, I want to know why the Gungans hated them. Because the Nubians didn't seem to really care too much about Jar Jar being there. They didn't really like go, there's a Gungan here. Like, they were like, oh, hey, Gungan.
Well, yeah.
Like,
but I feel like, maybe the Gungans are the native race of the planet, and the Nubians being people, humans, settled there and just took the planet. Like, basically went, okay, this is our planet, and I wonder how many, aside from the capital city, how many actual cities there are. Because I feel like outside of their city walls, they know nothing about their planet. I mean, you have these gigantic dinosaur things that are just there, but you don't see them anywhere except when the Gungans walk around.
Yeah.
And then you have all these people in the city, but it's just kind of like, we got a starfighters, but we know nothing of this place.
I don't know. I never read any of the books
Me either.
that pertain to Naboo.
I just think Naboo...
they think their brain's so big.
Yeah, they think they're so smart. Wait. Okay, real quick. Episode 1 goes to Tatooine. Episode 1 goes to Tatooine.
Yep.
2 goes to Tatooine. 3 hits it at the end.
And yep.
And then 4 hits it, and 6, but it's not in 5, right?
Yep.
So 5. That planet gets a lot of screen time.
Yeah. Yep.
Apparently, if you want things to happen, go to Tatooine and things happen on a galactic scale.
Yeah, for such an outer rim nowhere place, everything happens there.
Exactly.
And Luke wanted to leave.
Right. He just doesn't get it. You know, he's too busy on the moisture farm. If he just went into the cantinas more often.
Yeah.
It's always weird to me. It's like, this is considered the end of space, but everything happens here.
Yeah, everything important happens there. And so, with that, we are out of time.
Yes, and I want to leave the Fearless Gamers with a question.
Okay.
And it's going to take some time to think about it. Okay, Star Wars and Star Trek. I'm not saying which is better. That's not it. Wait for the question. Involve a lot of alien species. Now, I'm not saying what has the potential to have more, but as we've seen on screen or on show, TV screen or big screen, whatever it is, which one do you think has more alien species actively involved in it? Actively involved, I guess is the wrong word, but seen. Which one do you think, which universe have you seen more alien species in? Star Trek or Star Wars?
Yeah. And we will discuss this more in depth on our next podcast.
Exactly.
So, thank you all for listening, and until next time, Fearless Gamers, this is Matt the Vet.
James the Wildcard.
Saying take care.
Peace.